Hi, I'm Riz. Let's go and look through a collection together. First things first, if you celebrate, happy Father's Day. I think this video is going up on Father's Day. Hopefully we'll see. This will be the third video in our mom's box collection. A mother here in Japan sold off her son's collection with his consent, don't worry. And then the last two bulk videos have been going through it. Bit by bit, piece by piece, picking out the more valuable and more interesting cards. Though let me tell you, having now gone through all of it, there are about 2,200 cards in total. And I looked up the value of every single one of them, and gosh, that took a lot of trouble, but I'm happy to report the items in front of you are the last set, last third of the collection gone through. Right here, we'll see what's especially interesting. You'll see here we have one upside down card that will be the most valuable one we found in the collection. Towards the end of the video, we'll see which one that is. I've started listing some of the videos, earlier finds, or collections earlier finds on the local Mercari auction site. Happy to report we've sold off at about 2/3 or so of the value of the collection in total, or the cost of the collection in total. So I think by the time everything's listed and worked through, it will be a net profit. But more than that, I've been glad to make these videos and meet so many of you. And so I think in terms of fun and community building, it's been a real win so far. Speaking of which, if you do enjoy this channel here, consider throwing a like down below, a subscribe, maybe even a comment. All these things help me both get the affirmation I so desperately desire, but more importantly, help the algorithm see who we are and what we're up to. As always, we'll start with what I think are the most interesting cards. I have those set up right here in front with, of course, the Goblin War Buggy. Every single time I see this card, and I think this is the third or fourth one inside of this collection, I've got to grab it and pull it out and show us, because who came up with the idea of that chubby little goblin charging off to war in his mechanized cart? Just absolutely delightful through and through. I need to find a way to use this card in some set. Not sure what it'll look like, but cool. This card chosen, I think, a Cinder Mage, I believe, for just the art purposes. Seeing that lovely stained glass road off to somewhere. I don't know what he's considering, but I wish I were on the same things he is too. Then the Vigilant Martyr, again a card selected entirely for its art purposes. Changing to another style there. It appears he has donuts. A little hungry this morning, so maybe I'm going to see food absolutely everywhere. The Vigilant Martyr. Behind that, the Whirling Catapult. I don't know how large this character is in the background. I imagine her as a giant, though, to have that catapult be so small by comparison. At the bottom it says, direct confrontation never was to the orcs' taste. Instead, they launch at great distances there. After that, I forgot the name of this character, but definitely some alien invasion there. Their magic alien weapons burning through feeble human weapons entirely. And then a Sorcerer's Apprentice card, again selected just for the art purposes. Definitely a little more under control than the Sorcerer's Apprentice of Fantasia, played so aptly by Mickey Mouse. Sorcerer's Apprentice. After that, I've got a couple of cards here I'd like to discuss in terms of their mechanics. This card from Odyssey, a rare card, is called Wall of Nets. As you may have seen on my little post there, it's worth somewhere around 500 yen, $4 or so. So I will be selling it most likely. But it's a really interesting card. So it's a wall, meaning it can't attack, but anything that attacks it or that it's defending against gets caught in it and removed from the game. So creatures get removed from the game as long as they run into the Wall of Nets. But when the Wall of Nets is defeated, and you see it starts as a 0/7, when it's defeated, all of the creatures pop back out again, and you get them back. So it's more of a delaying card than anything else. As you see, this card itself is not in the greatest condition. It has some small dings there, but yeah, I think it's funny that you remove creatures, but then they do come back, exactly as a net might work. Speaking of strange mechanics, this card is called the Goblin Game. It's also a rare card from the Planescape collection. And there's a lot of text down there. I can't remember the exact translation. So actually, when I did the work of pulling up this card off of one of the wikis. So the Goblin Game, each player hides at least one object. Then all players reveal them simultaneously. Each player loses life equal to the number of objects he or she revealed. The player who revealed the fewest objects then loses half of his or her life, rounded up. If two or more players are tied for fewest, each loses half of his life, rounded up. So no matter what, someone's losing life on this thing, but it's a game of how much life are you willing to lose for the sake of not losing instantaneously, right? I hide one object, you hide two. Oh no, we got problems. So hilarious card. I love it when other kinds of mechanics are brought into the world of Magic. You can imagine the goblin there playing the what's hidden in my pocket game, and yeah, apparently this has been a source of some consternation in some matches where people don't agree ahead of time on what they've hidden, and so often these days people say, okay, we're gonna hide coins in particular, or sheets of paper, things that do not, change in the moment. Oh, I see you've hidden 3 things. Well, over there I have 5 seashells. Aha! Or whatever else. The Goblin Game, just a delightful little card. I wonder if there are other cards with similarly ridiculous mechanics, or if that's kind of just where it is. This next set was chosen as, again, a rare set from one of the Urza's series. I chose these tethered griffins, even though they're not especially valuable. I do like the art, first of all, of that poor griffin locked down, and maybe the soldier guarding it feeling a little dismayed about tethering something so beautiful. But I chose it in part to see how the art changes between the 3, not in terms of its actual content, but instead in terms of the colors. Now, these 3 cards are all from the same series, 2 English, 1 Japanese, but you'll notice in all 3 of them that leftmost color, blue in the far right, purple in the middle, and then quite blue on the far left side. I'm guessing these are all printed within a few months of each other, and yet you see the divergence between them. I don't know if cards are more standardized these days. I don't know if there's an expectation that they're within a certain variance of expected color, but just kind of cool to see 3 cards the same and then different anyway. I'm guessing there are even more egregious cases of these, but initially I thought they'd be from different sets, but again, all from that same Urza set there. The Tethered Griffin with weird colors. And then we come to a regular event in these videos, namely, which of these cards is most horrifying? You'll have to let me down below which one you dislike, and then if there are other horror cards that come to mind. Bloodlust, number 1. What on earth is she cuddling? It looks like innards of some sort, but at that size, either she's inside the belly of a whale, or something has grown in an unhappy place. So Bloodlust, the desire to become one with flesh. I have an English and a Japanese version of that. Next up, this one here is some sort of assassin character, and I thought, okay, all well and good, until I saw that tube. That tube seems to connect up through the assassin's jaw into his nose, and then how does the assassination work, right? Is it a matter of suffocation through siphoning? The more I think about it, the more horrifying it becomes. Number 2, the assassin card. And number 3, this time, we have an absolutely giant cockroach. I thought it was zoomed in quite a bit, but nope, that's someone's leg. So giant cockroach gonna come and get you. Again, from one of the Urza's, I think, Saga in this case. There you go. 3 cards, all horrifying, and those are the interesting cards of this particular hunt through. Now we have cards of some value, different levels throughout. We'll start with the cards that are somewhere between 200 and 400-ish yen, which is like $1.50 through $3.50. These cards, though very cool, are the hardest ones for me to move on. And that's because either I take them to the card shop and get 60% of value or so, or I sell them off individually, and shipping through the service I use is 230 yen. So I'm selling for 260, and the cost of the bag and so on, and the packing and my time, not so good, not so good. So I tend to sell cards only that are 500 yen or so, but these cards are all, $1 to maybe 250 or so. And so I'm going to try to find ways to bulk package them. Number 1, the Flaring Pain there, a reminder by Magic that if you intend to use fire magic, you should have some clothes that are inflammable, certainly. Behind that, one of the preening dragons. I can't remember the exact name, but that dragon showing itself off. And so huge compared to the monks down below. After that, some cards I've forgotten the name of. unfortunately. Then a couple capsizes, a way of getting a permanent off the field and then being able to cast it again if you want to. This card called Filth. I had one of these previously. I think I actually may still have one of these previously on the sales site. So I'll probably pair the two Filths together and see if they end up selling. We'll see. After that, more of this Cephalid nonsense. I don't recall what the Cephalid is doing, but man, the octopuses I find very, very dissatisfying as creatures. I know it's part of the dark fantasy vibe, but the creepy crawliness just not for me. Then one of these splinters, I believe, and there's a later card we'll see that makes all splinters unblockable. We've seen a couple splinters throughout this thing, and yeah, as I understand it, wait, splinter, sliver? Oh, I've forgotten which one's the correct word, but apparently these sliver decks were quite popular for a while because you can just pile on more and more. Here's a card called, Landfall maybe? Something like that. If you do not have any land in your hand or on the field, I believe, you can use this card to go hunting for land inside of your deck. And that's like a good way of saving a game that's been mana screwed throughout. The Crystal Chimes, I like how this one looks. It's got the shininess on it. It says, as Sarah was to learn, the peace and sanctity of a realm were as fragile as glass. The Crystal Chimes allows you to return enchantment cards back to your hand. After this is a Ruin card, I believe it's called, Ruin. One of the ways of clearing the board entirely, I believe. After that, Turnabout, which lets you tap or untap everything that someone has, reversing them entirely. I don't know who that is, but quick change from the boy to the man and the tapping status of the board. After that, yet another graphic of Counterspell. I believe this is the 4th or 5th different kind of Counterspell I've seen. In this case, the caster can only get bubbles going. All their spells turn into blow bubbles instead. After that, this is the Sliver or Splinter card that makes all others unblockable. It's a way of getting in a bunch of damage very quickly, potentially. Following that, these Spider Silk Armors, just a way of giving a little bit of bonus to the characters with a little bit more of the defense side, and then they can block as if they're flying. We have a Japanese and an English one of those, put on the clothing of the spider. Behind that, a Seer card. A Seer, it's a 1/1 character out of the Odyssey collection, I believe. Or Exodus, rather. Exodus. This card I've forgotten the name of, but I like the laboratory hunting and the terrifying man behind. This for me is exactly what chemistry class was like. I was in a group that had no idea what it was doing, and oh, the teacher's grading was looming. The Argothorian Worm has a really, really interesting mechanic. When it's played, any player can dump a land to put it back in the library. And then next turn it gets drawn again and played again. And so over and over again, it can be removed from the field. And I don't know why the player who plays it would want it to come off the field. You can see here that any player can do so, but I like the way in which this card operates. It's a mechanic I've not seen before. After that, the Fairy Conclave. Yeah, these last few cards are all various sorts of lands. They don't do anything terribly special, except the Fairy Conclave can turn into fairies. Yeah, these last few, though, are mostly in the $2 range, just because of their rarity from the Tempest set, I believe. And so there's not anything really special about them. They're similar to other, produce multiple kinds of mana off of a card, but they're ones that still do have a little value because of how old they happen to be. All right, those are the lowest value card for today. This next set is in the 500 yen to 1,000 yen pile, going up somewhere around $10 ultimately. I think one of these is $12.50 or so. It's about $10. This very first one, Karplusan Forest, another one of these cards that just produces a variety of mana. Its value comes entirely because from this set, the Deckmaster set we talked about last time. There aren't that many from this set on the island of Japan, which does change the economics. Where this card in the US would be basically of no value, but here it ends up being, I think, about $5 or $6. So we'll see if we can sell it. There's probably people trying to collect the whole set or to have every flavor of this card who will want the rare version from that set, indeed. Behind that, the Aura of Silence card causes various things to cost more to play. And you can go ahead and use it to destroy an enchantment also. Probably a fine card to any white deck as a disruption. After that, another card I've forgotten the name and function of, but more of this Urzian technology, putting things together and being amazed the electricity flows, that little light bulb turns on. Behind that, a giant panther comes with a 0/0 for a whole bunch of costs, but you can modify it in various ways to strengthen it substantially. I had all of the names memorized last night again, but they're slipping. This one's like $8, I believe, and I do like the graphics there very much. Caster sending the Red Sea against Pharaoh's troops. Behind that, a couple of Findhorn Elves. Nothing terribly special about them. 1/1s who can also be used to produce mana, but they are from that Deck Master set again, so raise the value a little bit here in Japan. And then this one. So this is a rare card. And yeah, as you may have seen on a little post-it note, a lot of text here. What it does, though, is when you play this card, you can then have another combat phase and another post-combat main phase. Any card that allows you to get extra turns or do a little bit more, I find so interesting. But you return to battle once more, and I guess it's the case that you wouldn't then have your upkeep done, so you'd have the same cards tapped as before. The idea of having another battling phase and another phase for casting more things, there must be some great ways to use it, but what a really fun card. I think it's somewhere around $6 or so right now in Japan, but pretty cool, and the berserker endlessly fighting despite his age, I suppose. Next cards here are chosen in some measure to show the difference between the Japanese and English markets, even here in Japan. First thing, not sure about that comma rather. In both versions, it's called Radiant Archangel. So Radiant is the name of this character as opposed to it just being a Radiant Archangel showing brightly. But Radiant Archangel, a 3/3, comes with flying, gets bonuses to other kinds of flyers, and is an angel in some way. The English language version of this one is somewhere around $5. The Japanese version about $2.50. And I think this speaks both to the availability of English language versus Japanese language cards here, but also the fact that English language Magic is far more popular here than Japanese Magic. There are so many card games played in Japan, and it's really amazing consistently how many are supported and have huge audiences. I think Magic is the 4th or 5th most popular, and so there's less buying demand on this particular card. But there you go, Radiant Archangel. Hate that comma so much. We then go into the $10 or so cards. Is that right? These are the $10 or so cards, I believe. I think I've lost a pile. Yeah. Maybe they even go up to 20. I don't recall right now. But Constant Miss number 1. You stop combat damage entirely for this turn. So I don't know if that means like blockers wouldn't do any damage as well as your attackers. I don't know. Like, is there a point of doing combat this turn if there's no combat damage? There must be some reason for it. Maybe ways of proccing card text. Like when this creature attacks, get X, like +1/+1 maybe. That would still proc despite the no damage, perhaps. We then have what's called, like, everything becomes dust. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes, that kind of card. It's a card that gradually removes enchantments, I believe. You can see the sage reading things out, and his memory and legends turn to dust, perhaps, at the same time. And lastly, an adorable card. This is the Goblin Lackey card. This is a card that does 1 damage to all players, I believe, when anyone casts a spell. It's something like that. I've forgotten the exact wording. But yeah, it's a little adorable fellow that can put out a lot of damage if various spells are cast here and there. And how cute. Despite being a shorter goblin, still has a place in our army. These two cards, just right. This card right here, that's the Nets card. No, I feel like I've lost a stack still. Well, regardless, we'll go into the foils now. I'm annoyed because the stack I think I lost was the $10 to $20 stack. It may still be upstairs. There were 4 or 5 cards in that one, so it'll add up nicely. Maybe I'll add a little addendum to the video if I can find them. But next up are the foil stacks. Like I said last time, in this earlier era of Magic, fewer foils were printed, and so it was a really exciting thing to find them at all. And so cards that should be worth only a few cents end up being a little bit more expensive. I will say here that I've not managed to sell any of the foils from last video in the past week. Even though they're not available at the card shops have no availability all on them, they're not selling on the auction website either. And so I was trying to sell them at their value, the card shop value. I might bring the value down a little bit. We had one card that's about 4,000 yen. I might drop it to 37 and see what happens. Or if nothing else, I cancel with the card shop, but again, for lower value. I'm in no hurry to sell, but especially the Japanese language foils, I don't really have a need for them. Each of these three is about $2 or so, maybe a little bit less than that, but we have this Bearer of Maggots, possibly a candidate for most horrifying card. Behind that, we have two land cards. Recently, on one of the Dominaria Remastered collector packs, I opened and saw some foil lands. They look kind of just like these, which are from the Invasion set, I believe. And they look very, very similar. But no, the newer versions of these aren't especially valuable. But each of these is about $2, despite the fact that the Invasion lands are 80 to 50 yen exclusively, so a little bit more valuable, but not a huge amount. We then come to the second set, which are in the $5 or so range. This Reckless Charge on top, again the cat hair there. A pretty cool foil on that one, gives $5. This Whirlwind or Gale or something of that sort, same kind of thing from the 7th edition there. We then have this fellow with large teeth. Teeths indeed, that's how plurals work. Great art, that one. Some kind of like vigilance card, or like honorable, what's the kanji? I have no idea. It's an honorable soldier though. 1/1, nothing terribly special, but worth about $5 again. This Pump You Up, increased might card with a +2/+1. About 5 also. And lastly, the Icy Manipulator. And this is one of those, look, Urza makes very strange kinds of technology. One of these technology cards. I don't like to think about how it works, except I noticed in the middle here is some kind of orc or goblin being tortured, I guess, in this card. And it is from that Deckmaster set, so I don't know if every Deckmaster had this card in foil, but yeah, torture for about $5 also. Lastly, among the foil cards, we have these two. These are one I was looking for before. They're actually foils. Yeah, and I believe the front one here, which is a Harpy of some sort, as you see. Harpy who is casting wind magic to keep down her enemy, or maybe their direction. Someone's casting something. This card's about $10 or so in full version. And lastly, this one here. I think called Innocent Blood. I may have actually reversed these two. One of them is worth 20, one is worth 10 or so. The Innocent Blood card, those terrible zombie creatures are carrying away someone who is surely pure and good for their dark necromancy. Alright, it's an absolute mess here right now. In the back here, all of these piles are just basic lands. I mentioned last video that I was surprised at how expensive some of the lands in the unset are. Those ones end up selling for about $10, $12 or so, having it listed them, but they're more substantial values. These are kind of hit and miss. So on the far left side here, I have cards from, for example, the Mercadian Mask set. And while it's interesting to look through all the different kinds of forests in this case, they end up being only about 50 to 80 yen each, and there's no substantial desire for them. I don't know if they're not quite old enough, not quite interesting enough, or what exactly. And we continue on with, other, like the Tempest set here. Again, really cool looking, but not a huge demand. I do kind of wonder if I listed all of these together for $5, $10, if I get someone to bite on them, maybe separating English and Japanese. I'm not sure. I'll probably try it anyway, but again, very, very low demand. I love that my local card shop does show me how many of each card have been sold in the past week, which I can then use to figure out the value on my end too. That continues indeed. We then pop over here. This pile here is 5th, 6th, and 7th edition land cards. Each one at most 50 cents and fairly low demand. Maybe 1 or 2 cards of this kind sold over the past 2 weeks or so. So probably probably not really worth talking about. Again, I might bundle them all and see. I just see they're probably 50 to 75 throughout those 3 sets of 5th, 6th, and 7th. We then come to this middle pile here. These are the first Portal sets. And so they're being sold at Haruya, the big Japanese store, for 200 yen each in the... so this is the second Portal set. 200 each in Japanese and 250 each in English. And they are sold occasionally. So, that's a pile of 20 or so cards. If I can get, somewhere around 175 on each of them, that would add up to a nice little penny for just some land cards. I've looked through these. None of them are exactly striking enough to me to say, I must have those cards forever. Also, my own set, I don't care about blinging out too much when it comes to the cards. I'm fine with using basically any basic lands. I don't want to be too showy. Keeping the same pile, there's Odyssey here. They're 100 to 150 yen. So, again, with 20 or so of those, they should add up. Behind that, the first Portal set, and the value on it's actually kind of inconsistent. But I only have, I think, 5 of those, so the price won't get too crazy. Underneath there, we have some Mirage cards. I remember the exact name, Mirage, I believe. And the prices are various on that. The top value ones in English are 300 yen, which is about $2.70. But there's a nice pile of them there. I'll probably link them together, get a few bucks off of it and see how that goes. As I mentioned earlier, that Deckmaster set is really in demand here because there aren't that many of them in Japan, and so collectors want them all. And so each of these cards in English, and indeed they are all in English, are selling at the major card shop for about 100 yen each. And they're selling with some regularity. So I wouldn't doubt if I could get 10, 15, even $20 off of this set of 30 or 40 cards. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool find. And then we come to the last pile. For some reason, and I don't know the ins and outs of this person's history, the vast majority of their purchases of the cards we found throughout seem to be in the Urza Saga era. And so we have here in English, the bag in English here is somewhere around 50 to 60 various lands card, all different varieties, all looking very cool. And then same again in Japanese here, 50 to 60 on each of those. And these cards, man, are selling very, very quickly. And we'll see here that the English ones are 150, and the Japanese ones are about 100 also. So I have a lot of lands, and if they sell anywhere close to their stated prices, I wouldn't be surprised if we got somewhere around $100 or so out of just lands in this collection, even more so if we include the unset ones. I'll report back in the future on how all that goes. I may have a follow-up video that is just, here's the values on the various cards, let's see. And yeah, if lands end up being a decent portion of the value here, and we actually manage to sell them off, that'd be pretty cool. I'm not crossed my fingers on it, but we'll see. All right, the teaser made earlier. What is the most valuable card? So with these cards going back to the Urza set, there was possibility of some really interesting, really valuable cards. I'll tell you straight up, we didn't find anything of hundreds of dollars of value. Last time we found the Show and Tell card, which I ended up selling for about 3,200 yen, which is about $28 or $29. Very, very cool indeed. I'll go ahead and not waste any more time. The top value card we found in the whole collection this time is Rhystic Study. Rhystic Study, a card used by a whole bunch of decks even today. What the card does is when it's on the battlefield, your opponents, if they cast anything, I believe, maybe just enchantments and spells, but anything, has to pay 1 mana, or you get to draw a card. So they cast anything, and either pay additional mana, or you get a card. And so it's a card that's incredibly good for substantial amounts of drawing, and because of that, it's somewhere in the $40 range. And so, not a crazy expensive card. I'm sure they'll sell for $35 at the very least. And so, with that said, just a vague, rough sense of things, looking only at the cards of $2 and more, including the land, over all 3 videos, the initial purchase price of this whole collection was somewhere in the range of 25,000 yen, so about $220. I think at this point, we're easily over that by another 25%. I wouldn't be surprised at the end of all the selling if we end up about $500 or so, doubling our value, which seems ridiculous because this is the first collection I've purchased. It feels really good to be rewarded in that way. I'll report back on how it goes over the next few weeks, but starting next week, we'll be on to a different collection. Some additional bulk, perhaps. I've got some binders to look through. It's been fun acquiring things. This one worked out really well, both in terms of enjoyment, engaging with you, and financially. Will that turn out next time? I have some doubts. For now, though, I want to say thank you. It was lovely hanging out with you. You might consider throwing a subscription here. If you enjoyed the video series, these 3 videos, maybe give a little thanks below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see your subscription and whatever else you want to do. I hope to see you again real soon. Again, happy Father's Day. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you again real soon. Goodbye, everybody.